Have you ever felt like you're overwhelmed by everything you're supposed to do as a musician? Does it seem like an endless amount of things that you need to know and skills that you need to cultivate just to achieve mediocrity in this overwhelming landscape as a musician and an artist, as somebody releasing music? Well, today I'm going to share with you a system that I've come up with called the Musician's Career Funnel System. And using this and this mindset, you should be able to start growing and cultivating your skills and getting the most out of your resources as a musician to move forward and be confident in what you're doing on a daily basis. Let's have a think on that.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, where we are here to strengthen music careers and communities one song at a time. And now here's your host, Jacob Wing. Yay!
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. So glad you're with us. Really happy to be going through this idea that we've come up with and this new funnel system that I think will work great for musicians. Just before we delve into everything, thank you so much to everybody watching everything, giving the views and the subscribes and the likes. You guys are killing it. Thank you so much. Welcome to the community, to the new people. If you haven't yet, just take a second, throw a subscribe down there and a like, join our community, help us all grow, help us learn from each other. Really appreciate you being here. Let's get right into it. So today, this funnel system that I'd like to unveil to share with everybody that I think is very beneficial. And it's just really a mindset going forward with what you're doing, what you can learn, what you can take on, how to get the most of what you're doing. And we've talked about all these things many times, many videos about these, many podcasts about this idea. But I just want you to adopt this overarching concept that can really help you hone into what you're doing. And there's this feeling that as you're going through your daily routine, you kind of know where you want to be, how you want to wind up with your career, where you want it to blossom into. But we don't always have that confidence on a day-to-day basis of you're doing the right thing, you're growing in the right direction, you're investing in the right gear, and investing your time into the right things to hone skills, to get better at what you're doing. But adopting this mindset, this funnel system will assure you that you're growing in the right direction and you're making progress. It doesn't even matter if you're a beginner and you don't know which direction to go. This, I guarantee you, will give you that confidence that just start moving today and you'll have the right direction. But even if you're in the middle of your career, you're just kind of there, but you don't know which direction to get, or if you're even advanced in your career and you just want to know what that next step is, this can really help you if you take this system, look back and see where you've been, how it applied to this, and what you can do moving forward. And it's really simple. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. We're not, giving you something that's a trade secret or something great. It's just a mindset. And the idea behind this funnel system is that it just goes, like a funnel at the top, wide at the top, narrow at the bottom, just something that takes things in and then pushes them into a point so that it's more focused. It's just a visual concept most of all. But I'm going to give you 3 examples today of how this works and how you should think of this on a daily process. And I'm going to throw in a bonus one at the end, so stay tuned for that. But let's just start at the very beginning. The first example I want to give you of using this funnel system mindset. And of course, just start broad with everything, and it should be narrowing down and becoming to a point, getting to a singular idea, whatever it is in your career, whatever it is you're doing with your music. So today we're just going to talk about genres. A big thing that people like to tell you if you want to see success in music, if you want to see your career grow and start moving in the right direction, niche down. And they're not wrong. They're right. But it has to be something that happens over time in a natural way. I mean, it's great if you step into day one and you know exactly where you want to be, whatever it is, example you want to use of what genre. I'm a country musician from day one, but even that has subgenres. It has, where are you going to fit into that thing? It doesn't matter. And you don't need to be too harsh on yourself saying, I'm going to exist in this, because you don't know if that's where your songwriting is going to take you. You don't know if that's the stories you're going to want to tell. You don't know if that's going to resonate with your fan base. And that's where you need to be to reach out to more people. So starting broad on that funnel, starting at the very top, just let yourself, if this is the beginning, or if you're just taking on this process and you want to get going, let yourself exist where you play a little bit of everything. You can play, wide pop music in a country style, or you can take a heavy metal song and make it into a rock song, or you could take a blues song, turn that into some kind of heavy metal song. You can play a little bit of everything just so you start to feel where you exist, how you're resonating with those that are listening to music. And if you're happy and you want to continue telling your story this way, or making music that connects with people in this manner, that's where you start to, as the years go on, and yes, we're talking years. This is why it's a system. It should funnel down into, okay, I really like this kind of music. I exist best in this. Here's where my musical set of skills shines brightest in this genre of music. And then you kind of niche down. You go down into that next level of, sticking with the example, we stay with like broadly, I like country music. So then you start niching down into like, well, I like this outlaw sound, and I seem to be able to tell stories in this and connect. And I have a little bit of a rebel in me, and it comes through in my music. So then you kind of niche down into that, and you really like focusing on guitar driven country music that, really get into that chicken picking and all those kind of things. So you narrow it down even just a little bit further, and you know exactly where you are a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. You're really dialing this in, and then you know exactly what genre you like to exist. You know exactly what defines you, your music, what makes it special and unique. What really tells you if you've made it and you've really gotten to the bottom of this funnel exactly is when people start telling you why they hate your music. When you start hearing, I don't like your music, I don't like this kind of music, because if you have a lot of the haters and the people that really just love it, you've done something really well. You have found something that's going to build a fan base, because once you have the, I love this or I hate this, this is great because people are defining that in their head. That's where you start to shine. That's where you start to build a big fan base and take off. So that's how you know, if starting from the wide angle of you're playing everything, anything that catches your ear and makes you feel something, you're playing that. And then you start writing your own music, you start developing that sound. That's when it really starts to take off. And that's the first example we have of using this musical career funnel system of starting broad, starting wide, going narrow, and just letting it happen natural over time. And it doesn't matter, like we said in the beginning, it doesn't matter where you started. Like if you've been doing this for a while and you just don't know why you're not seeing that growth forward, using this exact system, go back and say, where did I start out? What music did I start with? Did I like, such and such music? And then I started playing more refined music and more in a specific genre. And I started to play to these shows to cater to these people, these listeners, to these fans, to the venues. Maybe you're catering to venues and certain shows to play whatever it may be. You started out with broad, playing whatever you could, and now you're playing specific shows, and then you're playing very specific festivals. Same exact thing. It can tell you where you are on your journey and what you need to be focusing. Even if you're in the middle, even if you're in the top end of things and things are going well, it can really tell you where to focus. It just needs to be more pinpoint so that you're reaching that audience. And like I said, the end result on this one, you want to be in that hate it, love it part where there's something that makes it unique. And a great article that came out recently from Bandzoogle, who does like websites. They do articles all the time, and they reference Simon Cowell saying, you want to be Marmite. It's a great quote. You want to be Marmite. If you've ever tried Marmite, you've either been exposed to it from people that enjoy it, and you kind of found it's unique. This is great. It's its own thing. There's nothing like it in the world. Or you've tasted it and you said, what is this crap? I hate it. But the best thing about Marmite, exactly it's a unique thing. It's nothing like it. Either love it or hate it. Be Marmite. And it's a great, great quote and a great mindset to think about. On to point number 2, we're just going to move on to the next example that we have. When you start out, we're going to talk about music production. So you're going to start with broad music production skills. And then by the end, you want to have a focused skill set and investment plan over that time. So what we're talking about in this example is when you start out learning to make music. So you're starting to record your own music. So especially if you're starting to write your own songs, you have to have a way to capture that. If it's just your cell phone, you start out, that's a great place to start in that broad, wide opening of that funnel, whatever you can do to make sure you're just capturing your songs, whatever it is, a melody, if you're writing down guitar riffs, if you're writing piano lines, if it's whatever it is, you're writing music, find a way to capture it, because I guarantee you, no matter how smart you think you are, how great your memory is, those things disappear over time, especially the intricacies. Sometimes a special melody and the way that it's expressed and the notes and the length of everything really can get lost very fast. Like, I know I liked these notes, but how was I using those? Have a recording. It's fantastic. But then you kind of develop over time that I want to start putting out songs. So a lot of people start out like, I'm going to record myself, because it's so attainable now to get that right gear, to get some things to record yourself and start putting out your own music. And you have to decide, how much time am I going to invest into learning all these skills, to becoming, somebody who can, engineer their own recordings and make them good. That takes a long time. And I want to sugarcoat it and say we can all learn very quickly, but putting out good music as an engineer, as a mixing engineer, as a mastering engineer, those take years of trial and error, watching endless videos, listening to podcasts, seminars, learning from whoever you can. This takes time, and it takes a lot of investment. And especially as you start getting up to that threshold of, I want to be putting out this level of music so it sounds professional. I don't sound like somebody that just stepped into the game. I want to separate my music. I want it to sound like it should be on the radio. It should be on the playlists. It should be out there making great money and drawing in fans, because that's where I want to be. That takes a huge investment in gear and learning that gear, and then learning how to get the most out of what you have. All of those things take time. They take money. And so you start with this broad of, I want to be able to capture my own sound. And then at some point, you need to be good enough at capturing what you need to capture. If you're a great guitar player, you should have a lot of gear invested in making sure you can capture the best guitar sounds. If you're a piano player, you should have great mics that capture a piano recording in a stereo atmosphere and be able to do that in a great location. That's one of the hard parts about piano, is what's it surrounded by when you're capturing that recording. You should have somewhere dedicated to record that piano part. Or even if you're just doing keyboard parts, you should have all that software, all those plugins, all those things, all those synths. You should have that available to you, and that's what you're investing the most in. And then when it comes to the rest of your production, you should be, investing in either building a group around you of those musicians and artists, or even a network of musicians that you can use. Like here in our studio, we have a lot of session musicians that we know we can reach out to and we can use them. If we have a country artist come in, we know to use them. If we have somebody in a rock group, we know that we have a great drummer that can step in and do all that work, or a bass player that can do the great recordings. Having that network is great. And so you stop investing in, I'm not going to be that person that's doing all this stuff. I'm reaching out. I have people to use. I can invest in getting, these great recordings. But at least what I know, what I do is a very, very set place. And I guarantee if you're doing vocals, invest in a top of the line mic. It doesn't matter. And two of them. I know that sounds weird, but you know what I mean. There's a different one for recording in a studio setting and getting those, and there's a different one for live. There's so many great ones out there that can cancel out, that can get rid of all the bleed from the live music around you and just focus on what your vocal is in front of you. Those are the things where you're starting broad, and as your audio production goes along in your career, and you know what you want to do, and you know where you are, and you know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what you could be good at, but you don't want to invest your time or money into, and then you just kind of branch out from there. So another great example. How about a third example? Let's get on to that one. Business knowledge. We've talked about that many times on this show, this program. You really need to invest in understanding how music works, how it's always changing and faster than it ever had before, where we can go back and look at the decades and how music worked, and then things change. And 10 years later, it's the internet age, and 10 years later, it's the streaming age, and then just now it's 5 years later, what's important? 2 years later, something's changing. How we get our music out, how we reach the people, how we can really start to grow a organic fan base and start to get those streams, those follows on the right playlist, all those sort of things. You have to know the business side of this. So Again, in the beginning, as your career's starting to grow, as you're doing all those other things, in the beginning, you're just learning what you need to know. How do I get my music out there? How can I monetize it? Can I sell them at my shows? Can I put out CDs and records and sell those at my shows? How do I get booked? You're learning all these, in the beginning, essential things of how you can just take your music, get out there and make money off of it and move forward and have more things, more resources to invest in what you're doing and keep growing. But if you're starting at the top and then we're moving down into that narrow part of the funnel, you need to start talking about, yes, I'm spending all this money. I'm investing it in, better albums, better music, better releases. But you're also out there doing gigs and booking yourself. You're learning all the lingo. You're learning how to make the right connections and really put yourself out there, how to put your best foot forward. You've got an EPK. You might even have a manager that does all your booking for you, your own booking manager that's doing that for you. So all those things, you're learning the business side of it, and you need to really focus on how to get the most out of what I'm doing, but also what's a fair price? How am I not going to get ripped off? What should I be looking at? What's the shady part of this? Where could I be getting screwed over? Where could I be hemorrhaging money? Those kind of things. And then as you're growing, you're taking the money that you're making from what you first started out with, that wide-ranging amount of how I can make money from my music, and then investing it into a manager, investing it into a team around you that can, work what are you paying or not, how are you making the money off the merch table, just for example. And then, continuing from there, and from this network of people that over time that you are, meeting all these people, you need to get into these focused relationships at the bottom. That's that bottom of that funnel. When it comes to business knowledge, is focused relationships. Who can get things done? Who will be there when you need them? Who is consistent? Who will find you the right gig? Who will take care of you? Who will put your best foot forward for you when you're not in the room? Those kind of things. Starting broad and talking to everybody and learning everything you can to what works, what's going to get you where you need to go. Who can you scratch their back and they'll scratch yours? Those kind of things. Just needs to take that funnel system. It doesn't matter where, just look back, and if you've been doing this well, or it's your first day, make sure that you have that in mind so that you start to, when you find those right people, make a note of that. They need to be in my really close relationship, my focused relationship. Moving forward, I'll find a way to make something with them. I'll find a way to utilize their skills, and I'll offer my skill set when it's useful and prudent to do so. So 3 really great tips just to show you how this funnel system works for a music career. I promised you a bonus, so let's throw that in there. Let's talk about focused efforts when it comes to team building. That's a great thing to talk about. So again, it kind of follows under that focused relationship idea. But we're talking about team building. This comes in handy for just separate things. Know when it is a good time to have groups of people that work well together, and some people don't work well together. And again, just like everything else, take a broad approach and narrow it down. One of the hardest things is putting a band together. I don't care who you are. Sometimes it happens naturally and organically, and you're just like, we came out of college, or we were in college, we put this together, and we've been together for 30 years. Those are great stories, but they are the 1%ers when it comes to forming a group of people, a band, or whatever it takes. But the more and more it comes to you at the top of this cross-section, just understanding yourself at the very top of this. Who do I work well with? Who do I not work well with? Who do I mesh with? Who do I fight against? Who is just like sandpaper to me and my personality, and I just can't work with them? And then try to seek out, as you get further down and you're building teams around you, again, whether that's a band of musicians around you, who's going to be reliable? That's important to me. So I know that I can't deal with people that can't show up on time and won't put the work in, and they just show up and wing it whenever they want. If that's your thing, then you know that you're going to find somebody who's dedicated, who's put in the practice hours, shows up, ready to go, and they're not aloof. They're focused when they're in the room with you. That's somebody that, okay, I'm going to find either way to be in a band with them, or to use them in my sessions, or to just pay them and have them do a track for me, whatever it is. Those are the people that you want to work with, building a team around you. And it goes the same thing as we were talking about with focused relationships. As you're building a team around you for your live music, who's going to be the people you trust to set up your gear, that know how to work with you, and that you can be friendly with to say, this works, this doesn't. Can we do it this way? Can we try it this way? That was genius what you did. Thank you. I wouldn't have thought of that. Keep doing it that way. And who's going to do that? Again, take the money, do the merch table. Who's going to set up things for you? Who's going to make all the merch for you? Just make sure that everybody around you, when you're team building, same thing. Start broad. Make it about yourself, what works. Narrow that down to every time you're putting people in a position to be a part of your team. They're the kind of people that are going to work great with you and everybody around you. It doesn't always work, but the more that you're consistent with, the less you're going to be putting out fires here and there. It's a huge win. So just a great example of using this funnel mindset. It's okay to be broad in the beginning. As time goes, have a point where you're going to be, this is it, this is what I am, this is what I do, this is how I do, this is what I'm good at, and here's what I'm not good at, here's where I need to invest resources and invest in other people, because it's not what I can do well, but I know what sounds good, I know it's not going to be ripping me off, those kind of things. I know it's kind of a broad idea, but it does work, and you start thinking about this and applying to your daily routine. Every day that you're going in and getting better at something, it's because you're investing in this. I'm going to be really good at this thing. I'm going to work on my scales and all my parts and my arpeggios and all of those things, because this is what's going to be my selling points. And then everything else that I'm just going to bring somebody else in, or I'm just going to be general, at this jack of trades. It could be that, but you got to be pro at something. Jack of everything, but pro at something is the point of that. So. Hope this helped. If anything really resonated with you or sparked some good ideas, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. Make sure you don't miss out. We have some great stuff coming up I don't want you to miss, so make sure that you're following us. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. Love having you. And to everybody else, we'll see you on the next one, all right? Bye.